Great. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Town of Dewey Beach monthly Town Council meeting with public hearing. We are at the Dewey Beach Life Saving Station as well as streaming live on Zoom. It is Friday, June 16th, 2023, and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. With that, I'd like to convene the Town Council meeting and start with the opening ceremony of Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Thank you. We'll go through a roll call. Commissioner Barra.
Present.
Commissioner Gibbings.
Here.
Commissioner Jasinski.
Present.
Commissioner Persiker.
Here on the big screen.
Got it. And I'm Mayor William Stevens. We also have Town Manager Bill Zolper, Chief Speak, and Fred Townsend, our counsel here up front. First thing, can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So somebody's got a voice box? All right, so this is your first council meeting. We will allow for public comment as we go through the various action items, various discussion items. If you want to, you can either do it now for a general comment if you'd like to, and or if you have something outside of the 9 items on the, or 10 items on the agenda. So is there anyone that would like to come up for general public comment?
See Mr. Bonds in the back. He'd like to make public comment.
No, thank you. We already have a representative from that household. Updates, announcements.
Mayor, I think somebody does want me to.
Yeah, please.
My name's Tom.
Sorry, Tom. I'm sorry, sir. What was your last name?
Cremidas. Both of us just would like to, there's some more information and discuss what's going on. I guess going up, we have some concerns and questions, and didn't know if that could be on the next agenda. But I heard today is not that the reason for that.
Yeah, the agenda, we would have to have it properly noticed as an item. Have you been able to? Go ahead. It's public comment, sir. It's your time.
No, I certainly have concerns about, what the equipment.
Can't hear the speaker at all.
Yeah, just, concerned about the noise going on during the day. Obviously, my bedroom is right next to it in the backyard, and, I see a big forklift, and I'm concerned that, the beeping and the diesel engines and things like that. Is there anything that's been discussed, how that operation is going to be handled? It seems like it's gone from a marina to now turning into almost like a port where we're going to be moving boats back and forth all day long. And, it's certainly a concern of mine. I don't want to be woken up at 6:30 in the morning to a diesel machine and beeping all morning. Just like else would be concerned. So, not sure there's anything we can do, but just not sure, what's been discussed. Haven't heard anything. So. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
And also, Miss Jessica Stone is a neighbor too.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll discuss it, with Mr. Zolper, our town manager, and if it's if we can, if there's an avenue to put it on the agenda, if there's something that we can do,
That'd be great.
We'll let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It has someone in there.
Can you check general comment?
Sure. Mr. Byron on Zoom, do you have, is this a general comment or for a specific action item that you're here? You have the ability to accept the chat, correct, Kate? It's like they can chat and click. Okay, if anyone's on the Zoom call that wishes to be heard for an action item coming up, an agenda item, please chat with Kate Banaszak, our town clerk, and she will let me know. Okay. Mr. Zolper, updates and announcements.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So all the street posts are in at the toe of the dune. So as you go across the dune crossings that are salt treated, the Developing Arts Collaboration, which is Leah Beach's group. They go by DAC. They've actually were the ones that designed them, and then the Dewey Beach. So we were going to install them last summer. We did had some erosion from some storms, and then with the beach replenishment, so we held off. Beach replenishment's done. So if you notice, those are up at the edge of each one of the dune marks, and as you go walking down the beach, you'll know what street you're on by looking. And if you're coming from the north or the south, it's also marked on either side. So if you see them and then you see somebody from the Civic League, please thank them because they're the ones that put these together and funded. So they're in, sir. New Orleans Street has the swales done on either end now. They've been repaved. So for the drainage problem there, Bellevue Street's been repaved up to the spots where it was considered to have some issues, and Hayden Street's been repaved. All three of those were done with CTF money, thanks to Pete Schwarzkopf. Also, myself and Jim Dedes have spoke with some folks from Reed Street about Blue Water and the boat racks that they're putting in there. Jim and I have discussed it with them, and we told them that she for their discussion.
Okay.
We're continuing to work with Center of the Inland Bay out from basically Bay Resort all the way around to North Beach. We've spoke with the property owners in those areas, and they are happy to see some type of living shoreline put in there. It's going to be a 2-year project, about $500,000, all funded by Center of the Inland Bays. We're starting to put out the no parking on the roads in those areas. You'll see some of those. We were going to do some more today, but because of the rain, we held off. Millings is going around on the roads. We have potholes, and we've already discussed somewhat about golf carts and these vehicles called moats on the dual road. We're going to wait and see if there's any more information on that before I guess it's discussed. And then I have a presentation I'd like to make at this time, if it's okay, Mayor.
Go ahead, sir.
So if anybody's getting a copy of my
Can't hear at all.
surprised nobody can hear me, but in every one of my newsletters, I always ask for the public to help picking up with the trash and the garbage around town, because it's a huge issue, right? We have trash cans out in most places. Where there isn't a trash can, where there used to be one, we took it away because people from households or from businesses were throwing their garbage in those. But there's a lot of garbage on the street in town, and so when I ask the citizens and the business owners to help out, sometimes they're out there, sometimes they're not, but Mario is out there all the time. He is out there. Every time I'm out there picking up garbage, I see him out there with his broom and his little bucket, and I thought it'd be nice to recognize him for that. So for that, if you come up, sir. Mario Giovanni, on behalf of the residents, hard work and beautifying our town, individuals like yourself are the true backbone of our community. Your actions are not only promote and encourage civic pride, but also spread immeasurable amounts of goodwill. Please accept the certificate as a small token of our thanks and appreciation. Thank you very much.
Growing up, I grew up in a small town, much like Dewey Beach, and we always made it a point to clean up the town, and it was ours. And there was a comment that somebody made when I moved down here full-time last year at my work and said, oh, we like Dewey, but we consider it dirty Dewey. And that really hit me pretty hard and really intensified my cleaning services. So you'll find me up and down Route 1. I do the side streets seldomly. It's just good. It's medicinal for me to do it, and it makes me feel good. So, and having a town like this is just awesome. I embrace it. So my family and friends all came to support. Really excited about it. Just shows the love and do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
That's all, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we do have Ms. Everhart from the Dewey Beach Chamber of Commerce. I know you want to also come on up.
I'm just going to give you a quick update of what's been going on. You know the visitor guide, the marketing, advertisements, the dining guides, all of that has been accomplished. Lately, we've just finished Restaurant Week. Seems like an odd time, but the restaurant said, hey, Chamber, please, the week after Memorial Day is usually slow, but don't include Saturday night. run it Sunday through Friday. So we did that. They said it was successful. The good news is, and the chief will like this, we raised money that goes both to the Dewey Beach Police, the Rehoboth Beach Police, and many of the military tunnels to towers and those types. So we'll be presenting you, and you'll be in the paper real soon.
All right, thank
Okay.
you.
The kiosk in Rehoboth on the boardwalk is up and running. It runs 7 days a week, Memorial Day to Labor Day, and it runs from 10 to 2. Realtor bags we do, if anybody has product they want in the realtor bag, we do that, and then we deliver them to the realtors. So far, we've done 8,000. So it's quite an endeavor to get it done, but so far, we're doing it. The movies and bonfires, so Dewey Beach Movies and Bonfires. The program's ready to run. We have 4 summer interns, 2 and 1 volunteer. So I guess it's next week, isn't it?
Next
Monday.
week?
Sorry, yeah,
week it
Monday night,
starts.
there we go. Okay, international,
What movie is going to be this Monday?
well, I don't know
I
without.
think it's
looking.
out of school.
I've
It's all
got
out
it
of
with-
school.
Yeah, okay,
We
very good.
just ran the lighting,
There you
so we're ready to go.
International Student Outreach Program, I've had a lot of questions about this, and this has been a problem for years. Why don't we have as many as we've had? Housing, pure and simple, no housing, no J1s. When you see J1s, it's because the employer provided or found housing for them. It's a terrible problem for the entire workforce, but especially the J1s. We're just, we've talked to the county, we've talked to the state with regard to workforce housing, and we think that as a program would probably be the best thing. Cost of land and the way things are right now, it's probably going to be very difficult to create something. If somebody can, we'd love it, but a program that said, will help you. I know years ago when I came here, could pick out any house you wanted, okay? 79. Okay, so you know where the interest rates were. But Delaware, I was living in Maryland. Delaware said, hey, come here because we need people. You can believe that. We need people. 19. Don't have to work in the state, but you had conditions. So you had to guarantee that you were going to stay at that time for 5 years. You couldn't get behind in your payments. You had to have a job. There were conditions. So perhaps a program like that might work. The state worked with the banks. I don't know. Everybody's looking for a solution, but so far I haven't heard of one. Now I want to give you legislatively, hold on to your hat because it's been quite a June. Before I came in here today, I got 2 new bills introduced. I do want to go to accommodations. I'm going to give you the stats just on a Saturday night, just in Dewey. Just in Dewey, you're going to see a decline. And I'm going to give you some ideas of why that might be. So this is just hotels and motels in Dewey. Last year, on a Saturday night, first week of May, 52%. This year, 29%. Last year, 74%. Second week. This year, 56%. Last year, 85%. This year, 72%. And weekend 4 was a little bit better, 78%, and then this year, 80%. Mostly weather. Mostly weather. We had a beautiful April, and May just didn't treat us well. So I wanted to report that. And the last thing is, I'm sure many of you, I've had a lot of calls about the short-term rental tax. That is designed as a pass-through tax. So you collect that from whoever is renting. The municipalities, they can do what they want with their tax, but on top of the 8%. So each municipality is pretty much different as to what they're collecting. It looks like it's going to go through. I'm not saying it's through, but it's definitely looking like it's going to go through. And I think it's important for everyone to know that in this county, there's a formula. When this short-term rental tax comes in, it will follow the same formula. Okay, doesn't change anything. So if 8% is collected, whether it's a hotel or short-term rental, 5% would go to the state. What do they do with that? Infrastructure, grants, that type of thing. 1% is assigned to the state tourism marketing. So they're supposed to take 1% and market this state. Keep it in the limelight with everybody else you're competing with. Percent goes to beach replenishment. You're going to have a lot more money for beach replenishment. And 1% goes to, there's a group called Southern Delaware Tourism. Scott Thomas is the director of that. He grabs 45% of that 1%. He's supposed to market the county with that. So the whole county, whether it's history, water, whatever it is. The last 55% of that 1% goes to whence it came. When that legislation was written, it was written to encourage tourism, because at that time, we really didn't have it. I'd say it worked, because the money that's been spent on marketing, we definitely have an increase in tourism. So if our Chamber of Commerce, if our Chamber of Commerce is 50% of that, that's what we'll get. But it has to be spent on marketing. I have to approve it, get it approved. I have to show what I spent it on. That's not Santa's house. That's advertising with a return on the investment. I know name and address. If I don't have that, I don't get approved. Okay? Each chamber is supposed to do that. So whether it's Bethany, Georgetown, if they're in Sussex County, the support on this was everyone from the State Chamber of Commerce, the Association of Chambers, all of them. I can tell you is it looks like it's going to go through, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. You should know this, maybe 28 million visitors to Delaware. I'm sorry, 28 million visitors to Delaware. Okay, 9 million came to this area, and I can pretty much, you know, we take the traffic that comes in, take out a third, because that's you and me, and put 1.2 persons per vehicle, comes pretty close to 9 million people. The question I am asked too is, Carol, how many short-term rentals are there? It's an estimate in this county, but it's about 47,000 short-term rentals. Okay, it's going to be a lot of funding for various things we can't do now that are tourism related. Any questions?
2 questions for you.
Uh-oh.
The first question is, do you have any estimate as to how many spots that we would need for the international students to come in? If we were to try to get some level of housing, is it 1,000 or is it 100, or what's the number?
Well, to be honest with you, the workforce housing is more desperate than the J1s, because I'll be the hospital. I need nurses, I need doctors, I need police officers in my town. I need all of those workforce. In my Chamber of Commerce, I have an individual who works there. They make a very good salary between her and her husband. They can't qualify. They can't get workforce. Why? Because the value of the houses is now so high. I can tell you that years ago, we had 6,000 plus J1s. I don't think we can't back that up without going to Social Security, finding out. What's the other question? I'm off the hook.
I just want more of a clarification. One of the things to think about as a coastal community is that every 3 years, we've been getting beach replenishment, and that beach replenishment for the several or 6 coastal towns that actually get it. This past was about $26 million.
Mm-hmm.
Have there been any estimates as to what the 47,000, I think it was the number you gave, 47,000 short-term rentals would generate in revenue in total? And therefore, where I'm going at is how much will actually go into the beach
I
renourishment?
think $103 million, so take 1%.
Okay.
Additional funds. And that was based on a projection of, I think it was $2,250 for a week, so 10 weeks of rental, and times the 47,000 they would call it.
So 1/8 per year of 103 million would be going to the beach.
1%. It doesn't change the formula. That was the thing. The chambers could all support this, and we could get pretty, mostly unified support of it. The realtors are not, they don't like it. The realtors don't like it. And I can understand that they probably feel as though they're going to have to collect this, okay? But you should know this too. We're only one of 3 states that don't collect this tax. Alaska, some parts of California, and Delaware do not collect this tax. Short-term rentals and Airbnbs of the world, and so you can see there's going to be some competition there with the realtors, so I certainly understand where that's coming from.
One other question. What is the effective date in the legislation, the way it's written right now?
If it passes, it would be December 31, January 1 of 2024, if it passes.
Thank you.
Never know. You're welcome.
Any other updates, announcements, Town Manager?
No, sir.
Okay. Committee reports, these are for the Climate Change Audit, Budget, Charter Code, Comprehensive Development, Infrastructure, Investment, Marketing, Planning, and Zoning. I'll do this by Commissioner who's acts as liaison to their committees. Commissioner Bauer.
Marketing had a meeting last week and trying to come up with some recommendations that we're going to try to raise some money to offset our expenses for the new town hall. So I think the public will be, hearing from us, and we're going to try to raise as much as we can. I mean, we've gotten money from the state, we've gotten money from the county, gotten money from a lot of other places. So, it's everybody's town hall, not ours. I mean, it's the whole community. So, but I think we're doing a donation level of $250, $500, and $1,000 and other. And then the thought that marketing brought forward that we're going to discuss further is a mural on the wall. And, based on your donation level, you could have your name, instead of like the bricks, because I went to Catholic school. So we always had bricks that you sold, but trying to make it a little more beachy. I mean, we could do bricks on the steps or something like that, but a mural on the wall. So if the plane's flying a banner, your name could be tailing behind the plane. It could be, your name could be on the back of a beach chair. That's a smaller donation. Could be on a lifeguard chair. So we're trying to come up with a good theme and involve the artist group to come up with something for us. I think it would be a nice touch for town hall as well. So that's what we're working on for marketing, and budget and finance is nothing to do now until next year. So
Very
I guess
good.
we'll start meeting in December.
Commissioner Gibbings.
Investment committee will meet again on July 13th.
Commissioner Jazinski.
No updates?
Commissioner Persinger.
Yeah, none of the committees that I am liaison to actually have met over the past month, but I think it's an appropriate time just to mention the fact that we have a report due to the state beginning of July on the comprehensive development plan, the implementation of the plan, so that we can give them an updated status. And I did send it out to members of the comprehensive development plan committee. They haven't been terribly active, but I thought we should at least give them a shot at any comments that they may want to make. I know Commissioner Jazinski also provided some comments on that plan. So if any other commissioners, I think you all got a copy of the last year's report. So if you have any comments, please forward those to Jim Dedes.
Mr. Mayor, Jim Dedes has been working on it. He's been very active on it.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Persinger. Thank you, Town Manager. The next item is for the approval of minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the May 19th, 2023 meeting minutes?
Motion?
Second.
Second.
Any conversation, discussion, changes? Not seeing any. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Approval for the minutes. Can I get a motion for the approval of minutes, June 2nd, 2023 workshop minutes?
Motion?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I think it might be efficient. We're going to open up the public hearing. Council, can we open the public hearing, bring a topic, and then go to the action item? What do we need? Or would you rather just?
You could do that.
Okay. I just think it might speed up the process with who's in here. So we're going to open up the public hearing for the application submitted by Steve Montgomery for the Starboard located at 2009 Highway 1, Dewey Beach, Delaware, for temporary expansion of premise for the event running the Bulls June 24th, 2023. Is there anyone here from the Starboard that would like to make a comment, public comment? Yeah. Okay, they're good. Is there anyone here is anyone here for public comment about the running of the bull.
Yep. Stage is going to be set up where the porta potties are going to be done, how he's going to secure the area, the crossings going down Houston Street, coordination with the lifeguards, then coming back up New Orleans Street, crossing again. He walked me through it yesterday. I was satisfied.
Satisfied?
With,
Okay.
the program, yeah.
And you too, Chief?
Yes.
Okay. Then why don't we close the public hearing on the running of the bull and go to action item number 1, discuss and possibly vote to approve the application submitted by Steve Montgomery for the Starbird located at 2009 Highway 1, Dewey Beach, Delaware, for temporary expansion of premise for the event Running of the Bull, June 24th, 2023.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just for the record, were there any significant changes to the event from prior ongoing event?
No, there isn't.
Thank you, Council.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Second.
Any other discussion? Not seeing any. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Next item, we're going to open for public hearing. Public hearing for an application submitted by Steve Montgomery for the Starbird. Steve Montgomery is going to be a pain tonight, isn't he? By Steve Montgomery for the Starbird located at 2009 Highway 1, Dewey Beach, Delaware, for temporary expansion of premise of the event. Dewey Goes Pink on October 7th, 2023. I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say. Do you have any comment on that, Town Manager?
I don't. Same programs we had
Okay.
last year.
Anyone else here for public comment on that event? Dewey Goes Pink.
Anybody in the
Good
waiting-
afternoon. I was hoping to put a comment in.
Oh, please. Yes, sir.
Oh, thanks. Well, good afternoon. Thank you to the town council for allowing me to speak for a couple minutes here. My name is Patrick Coonsey. My wife and I own a house at 109 Salisbury Street. We've been coming to Dewey, staying at that house for past 12 years. We've owned the house for just over 2 years. And so I want to talk about the application submitted for the Starbird for some of these events this summer. In particular, the Dewey Goes Pink and the Running of the Bull. I'm making these comments today in light of the fact that we had someone break into our home over Memorial Day weekend while my wife and I and our 2 kids were sleeping. And I'm not suggesting that in any way is related to the Starbird, but I'm here to tell you that when I followed up with the town police the following day, it was made clear to me that the police officer positions are only about half filled for the summer. And I spoke to the police on Saturday, the following day, because they were unable to respond to the request at my house, after I'd physically removed this guy from my living room. So I think, I know it's not unique being unable to fill all the police officer positions, but it seems like that's where we are. And I do think it's a mistake to approve these large events when the town is unable to provide sufficient public safety. So I'm not suggesting, banning the events, but I'd really like you to take a close look at the format and maybe add some restrictions to keep the events, frankly, in line with what the public safety officers are able to control. Ideally, we'd be able to fill all these open police positions and return to, full summer events. But, I've seen firsthand what happens when we're in short supply on the police and on these large party weekends. So, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. That's all I have to add today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Coonsey. Anyone else, Kate? Would either of the Starbird like to make a comment?
Every year, I'm sorry. Jim Weisgerber from the Starbird. Every year we've worked with whatever, we've always brought in whatever security was needed. If there's a shortage with the town, state police are involved, DelDOT's involved, and we will do whatever we need to do to make sure that the event comes off. We feel like they're very important events to us and to the town, and we'll work with you guys and do whatever we need to do to make sure we have enough security.
Town Manager.
So with Mr. Coons, he called and I actually spoke with him the day after this event. At that point, I got a hold of Lieutenant Dempsey and asked Lieutenant Dempsey to go over and to follow up on this. One thing I will just compare, Memorial Day weekend, I believe this happened about 10 o'clock at night at your residence, sir?
That's correct.
The Running of the Bull and Dewey Goes Pink are day events for the most part. I mean, they're over. The stage will be broken down for Running of the Bull. It'll be down by Saturday at 5 o'clock. It doesn't mean that something can't happen on Salisbury Street late at night.
Right.
The police are doing the best they can. We budgeted for 24 summer police officers, 24. And the chief went through the process of trying to hire, and she got 11. And it's just not Dewey. Rehoboth budgeted for over 20, and they have 13. So it's a national problem trying to get more police officers to be out there on the streets. But what we can do for you, sir, is try to have more presence on Salisbury Street and New Orleans Street, the two streets that are on either side of the starboard, to try to keep that from happening again. But there's no 100% guarantee, sir.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that. And my point wasn't directed at the starboard, and I understand the position you're in, not being able to hire the police officers, right? My only point is, if that's where we are, we need to do something different. But and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Kunze. Anyone else? Not seeing any. We'll close public hearing. Should be a motion to close public hearing and then.
You don't have to.
Okay.
You can close it.
Let's close public hearing and move into number 2. Discuss and possibly vote to approve the application submitted by Steve Montgomery for the Starboard located at 2009 Highway 1, Dewey Beach, Delaware, for temporary expansion premise for the event Dewey Goes Pink, October 7th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Third element, public hearing. This is going to be another Starboard. Public hearing on an ordinance regarding a conditional use permit and application for a restaurant permit of compliance to expand the conditional use for Starboard Claw located at 1818 Coastal Highway, Dewey Beach, Delaware, 19971, pursuant to section 25D1A1 of chapter 185 in accordance with the definition and requirements of a restaurant in chapter 144, section 6. The subject parcel of land is north of Dagsworthy Avenue and south of Bellevue Streets. There's tax parcel number 334-20.18-149.00, lies in the RB2 zoning district. Any comment, public comment on conditional use for this?
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Kate, anybody in the waiting room? This is new, so Jim, why don't you come and just go through what you're asking for?
Describe the proposal, please.
This is to use the front area that's now currently a deck to install dining tables outside on the area that's there. Really, that's basically it.
So there won't be any stand-up beverage consumption?
Correct.
Okay. It'll just be outside dining, very similar to what you have over at Raw and.
Yeah, what we have around now, yeah,
Got it.
just that outdoor space.
Okay. All right. Council, any questions of the Starboard? No, I don't have any.
When Mr. Montgomery told me he was going to play golf today, I thought he was going to invite me along instead of asking me to come to this.
Well, at least, I'm sure he enjoyed the.
I'm kidding about golf, I don't think that.
Okay.
Would there be a time restriction on sitting outside on this deck like we have outside decks upstairs?
I believe there.
At least you're close.
I believe there is an ordinance, wherever the ordinance is on that. Is it 11? Is that right?
11 o'clock.
I believe it's, by code, it's 11, right?
Correct, and
We
you'll
would
comply.
honor that same rule.
Okay.
Thank you.
Before you sit down,
Yeah.
I thought I saw a window, and now I can't find it, where there was like service through a window to the tables. Is it going to be?
That'd be news to us. No,
Okay.
there's.
I must have misread the
Oh, you
design.
know what? That's, we do have a pickup window for carryout items on the side of the building. And that would be
Okay.
for somebody, that's unrelated to this.
Okay.
On the front of the building, there is no open windows.
So it'd be a waitstaff service?
Correct. It'd be service.
There is on the design, so I think that needs to be
Oh.
addressed.
Oh, there is.
Right here.
So that is news to me.
Okay. Could you please address that, sir?
Is there a problem with us having a service window?
My concern, and I'm just thinking about people at the beach in the summer wanting to have fun, that people be walking up to that window and ordering beverages, and then they're not seated at the tables.
Okay.
So I'm thinking of a people management perspective.
Well, I think the reason we wanted to install that was for
The wait
just
staff to pay.
the wait staff, yeah. So if you wanted us to say that no beverage service to customers is at that window.
So no public service.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, great.
Because actually, couldn't they just take that beverage from the window and just walk down the street with it? Open container?
Well, they'd have to leave the premises by the front door. They'd have to go, I mean, in theory, anybody.
It's a
can-
carryout window. It says carryout on the.
We're talking
above
about
the-
two different windows.
Oh, yeah, that's a different window. That's on the other side of the building.
Right, it's on the Bellevue side.
Correct. That's for carryout. That's for our intention is that's for carryout food. Crab orders specifically was what we were hoping to use that for.
Are we allowed to take alcohol drinks through that carryout one?
It's a Delaware law, yes.
Yeah, technically we could.
And that's not a Dewey law, that is a Delaware law.
So
But it would be the same as if you can come into any restaurant and order a drink to go and take it with you.
With the lid without a straw.
Yeah.
If you're consuming it walking down the sidewalk, that's a separate issue. But
Correct.
That's not
You're
a
allowed
Stoddard
to
issue,
have
that is
takeouts.
a chief speak issue.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay. So we have all right, any other, we're in public hearing side, any other issues or any other conversation around conditional use for the Starboard Clause expansion?
So the depiction that you have there shows two tops and one, what, six?
Six,
Correct.
for a total of 10.
And there's benches.
Benches?
That's on the lower side, there's benches for waiting.
So you're not serving.
Right.
That wouldn't be serving. The
That's-
service area is two step, I think it's 2 steps up.
So they're they're allowed to have the benches, so this is purely based upon the additional tables. Correct.
Correct.
Okay, so that question was, in order to be served, you have to be seated at the table, because I know we have at least one commissioner who's probably having a very difficult time following this exchange, because some of us are talking over one another.
Counselor Jim, is there an issue, or will people seated at the benches be able to order drinks, just so that we can have a full picture?
No,
While the wedding?
those
Okay.
are people waiting.
So, okay,
Correct.
just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Yep.
All right.
So you have to be seated at those tables. You can be seated at those tables by a host staff. The window that's there will be used by wait staff to get the beverages. The only way to get beverages from that window is through wait staff.
Correct.
Okay.
Just,
So there's no standing consumption of alcohol?
Correct. That's by code.
By code. Commissioner Persinger.
well, yeah, I just wanted to make note that it's a commercial outdoor open air operation, so it has to satisfy 18525D3, which says no stand-up consumption of alcoholic beverages, no external speakers or amplifiers. Any interior speakers on the premises shall not be directed towards such outside service area, and the area shall be cleared of patrons by 11 p.m. Those are the requirements. And I think other expansions have been held to those same standards as well.
That's correct, sir. All right.
And in the case of those other expansions, this group has referred those matters to the planning commission, which has held a public hearing and made a recommendation, and then they come back.
And therefore, you're suggesting we should discuss and possibly vote to send this to planning and zoning? So they're to be
Unless it's
consistent.
unanimous. But
Well, if you were to unanimously conclude that this change is not significant, then you can approve it. But only unanimously and only upon a conclusion that this change that's sought after is not a significant, which is not a bright line test. So I'm not going to be able to help you a whole lot
Okay.
come to that conclusion.
Well, I'll, go ahead,
May I?
Counselor.
So, Mr. Mayor, when Hammerheads was there, it had decking in that space and received and did outside service like we are now discussing. So this seems like the same thing.
Correct.
Just a new deck,
Correct.
new owner.
I never saw Hammerhead serving outside. It was a short porch there to get in. Correct me
I
if
have
I'm
been
wrong.
served outside of Hammerheads.
Yeah, they didn't. I'm surprised this wasn't on the original drawings. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to ask for a motion to either approve this. If it's not unanimous, then we'll have a motion to send this to planning and zoning.
I'll motion that.
He should do it first.
So My motion is that we approve this directly if we vote unanimous with the one additional condition that the service window not be used for direct patron ordering.
Fair enough. Okay. So second,
Second?
all in favor?
So implicit in the motion is a conclusion, not just that this is an appropriate thing, but that this is not a significant change to the existing approved conditional use.
That is correct.
That is my implicit motion.
Any other conversation, council? Not seeing, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. So, thank you, Jim. So that
Great.
doesn't,
Thank you.
that's been
Thank you.
approved.
So we'll write that up and issue an amendment to the existing
Conditional
conditional
use,
use
correct.
permit, which makes reference to the limitations, including the additional one regarding the use of that service window.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. And we're closed on the open and public, oh, no, we don't. It's next on the public hearing. Public hearing on ordinance to amend chapter 185 zoning of the Dewey Beach Code of Ordinance relating to lapse and special exceptions and variances granted by the Board of Adjustments as referred by the Dewey Beach Planning and Zoning Commission. Any comment from public comment on that change, the amendment to that ordinance? All right, no public comment. We'll move on to number 4 then. Discuss and possibly vote on an ordinance to amend chapter 185 zoning relating to lapse of special exceptions and variances granted by the Board of Adjustments as referred by the Dewey Beach Planning and Zoning Commission. Commissioner Persinger, I know that you drafted, do you want to make any comment before we ask for a motion on this?
Yeah, let me make a comment. We actually have 3 versions of the ordinance here. 2 are mine and one is Fred's. When I first started talking about this issue with Dawn Hinks, our building official, the status of this particular section of the code is that, you know, you get a special exception or variance. It's basically good for a year, and it lapses after a year unless you've completed construction, if it's a construction project, or the use has taken place. Or the Board of Adjustment, as part of their approval process, says, well, you can have more time because you have a good reason for why you need more time. And what Dawn said was that many people who get a special exception or a variance, in fact, aren't aware of that 1-year period. And in fact, that there were some special exceptions or variances that would actually lapse fairly soon. And it seemed pretty clear that the applicants who were granted that special exception or variance would not be able to meet these requirements. So the idea was to make things a bit more flexible and to give people some extra time to adjust to these new requirements. And so we set this up so that there would actually be 4 conditions under which a special exception or variance would not lapse. And that would be the first one, construction is completed. Secondly, the applicant has applied for a building permit prior to the expiration of the approved special exception or variance. The third one is the use has already taken place in accordance with the plan. Or lastly, the approved special exception or variance, again, was expressly authorized for a longer period of time during the approval process by the Board of Adjustment. The draft that Fred has a couple of more with things which look like conditions, but I think they're actually more explanatory. And that is the first one being, if in fact that you have applied for a building permit within that first initial year, you're really good basically for the length of the building permit for that time. And in fact, you could actually renew that building permit for another year. So you could actually go well beyond that first initial year of approval so that you could complete your project in a timely and reasonable way. The second part is to really make some sort of accommodation for those special exceptions or variances that might lapse in the fairly near future. And what Fred has drafted here is the ability, this is something I think that the Planning and Zoning Commission suggested, was that an applicant have the ability to go back to the Board of Adjustment and say, well, we'd like to have a 6-month extension. The problem I have with this first draft is that it looks like you could do that at any time. And I don't think that was the intent. I think the intent was just to provide some accommodation for a short period of time for those existing special exceptions or variances that were likely to lapse in the near future. So the two alternates that I have, first of all, don't make it bureaucratic at all. Let's just say that for any special exception or variance that is existing as of today, just give them an automatic 6-month extension. Give them that time period to make whatever adjustments they need to do, to apply for a building permit if that's the way they're going. But that's, I think, the least onerous and least bureaucratic way of approaching this. The second one would be to, as Fred has suggested, to go back to the Board of Adjustment and ask for a special exception. I think that if you get a special an extended time period for the Board of Adjustment, whether it's during the approval process or it's afterward, that there ought to be some reason. There ought to the Board of Adjustment should have the obligation as part of their approval to say, to state that reason, why there's a good reason for giving more than a year. So my preference is the least bureaucratic one. Just give any existing special exceptions or variances a 6-month extension, and then let the law run from there. But we could consider the Board of Adjustment route as well. In any case, I think Fred's draft, if we were to go that way, we would not drop E and F, but relabel E and F simply as 2 additional sentences that clarify some of the provisions above. So that's a little bit long-winded, but that's.
Thank you for the explanation. Anyone here from the public hearing would like to make a comment on this amendment to the ordinance? All right, not seeing any. We'll move directly into the. So Commissioner Persinger, would you make a motion in terms of which version of the draft you would like to?
I can, if I could pull up the right version. I'm not sure if it's version 2 or version 3. Just 1 second here. So it would be, it looks like version 3. I'm sorry, wait a minute, wait.
And while he's looking, this COVID experience, the lack of materials and lumber and everything, it definitely, I've seen with respect to other boards of adjustment, that applicants have had to come back and ask for extensions of time. And we'll say that the city of Rehoboth, they had a 6-month, the life of a variance was just 6 months in the city of Rehoboth. They recently changed it to account for how long it can take to get a project done. There's an absence of contractors and such. And also because when these laws were originally adopted, probably there might not have been a planning commission and site review process that can take a year in and of itself. And for a big project, a variance is required to be obtained on the front end, and then you subject yourself to a lengthy planning commission process after that. Those variances are all going to expire within 6 months. So they've had to do the same thing you're considering doing. I've seen it in Kent County as well. So you're consistent with the motion. Yeah.
Very good. All right, hearing that Commissioner Persinger motioned on
Draft
version
number
3,
right?
correct?
Yeah. Seconded.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary. All right, last public hearing section, public hearing on the ordinance to amend Chapter 185 zoning of Dewey Beach Code of ordinances relating to specifications for the number of driveway entrances permitted on any lot in Dewey Beach as referred by the Dewey Beach Planning and Zoning Commission. Can I get an overview?
I guess that would, I think I drafted this as well. The The issue here is that the current language says sites with a frontage of 50 feet or less shall have no more than one 20-foot wide driveway entrance or two 10-foot wide driveway entrances. So presumably, it doesn't really say anything about lots with a frontage that is larger than 50 feet. So the idea here was to clarify, make a clarification here, and that just to say that basically every lot shall have no more than one 20-foot wide driveway or two 10-foot wide driveway entrances with a minimum of 20 feet of unencumbered space between such entrances to provide for public parking. The only other thing that adds here is a clarification on what happens on a corner lot. And the notion here is that a corner lot may have one 10-foot wide driveway entrance on each of the two streets bordering the property. They could instead have, two 10-foot wide on one street or one 20-foot wide driveway, but they could at least have one 10-foot wide driveway on each of the bordering streets.
And this is really just cleaning up currently what we have.
It basically is.
Anyone here for public comment?
I do. I live at 1A Apple Bellevue. It's the last house on the ocean on the left. And we might have a unique situation. We face the ocean, but it's more than 20 feet of elevation that's going to be shown. And we have a common driveway that 3 tenants actually cover through an HOA now. We have insurance for all that. And just at the end of Bellevue, we're constantly dealing with illegal cars that are parked right on the street, and it's being policed well, but they're always pulling into our driveway. We also have, it's on the deed, a single parking space outside of the outside wall that has a sign on it. So I don't know if that situation is different than what the commissioner is requesting.
Mr. Sulfur, do you have any comment?
Now, I'm familiar with this location, that one single space. They've got a sign identified there. I haven't looked at the deed or looked at the property line, but Bellevue Street's a very busy street.
Right.
We were going to do some painting, no parking type of painting, and do some adjustments on some of the driveway entrances, but because of the rain, we held off on that today.
Mr. Byron, thank you for your comments. We'll obviously look at from an individual side. I appreciate it. Anyone else?
A question?
Yeah. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, I guess my question is there anything in this draft ordinance, this notion of having two 10-foot wide driveway entrances or one 20-foot, is there anything that harms in any way the parking situation for this gentleman's property?
No,
Correct.
I don't believe so, sir.
No.
Okay.
So one of the things, if I could, that we were asked, or the planning commission was asked to address, was to clarify something for the building inspector, and that is, there doesn't seem to be any limiting language for lots that are greater than 50 feet in width. And I don't think I was able, or I don't think I did a great job focusing the planning commission's attention to that question. And I would say that this ordinance doesn't change really the status quo at all, which may be the right approach. But the status quo for a lot of 50 feet or less is 120 or two 10-foot driveway entrances. That has not been changed. The building inspector, though, doesn't have any direction on what would be permissible for a lot that was 60 or 75 or.
Yeah, what we're doing is basically not allowing the quantifying how many square footage they have. It's you get 20 feet per lot, regardless of size lot. So it's removing the ambiguity.
That's correct.
So somebody can 80 feet cannot argue that they're entitled to more.
So at the end of Bellevue, there's 3 separate tenants. We each get 20 feet.
No, I'm assuming Mr. Byron's property is some kind of a condominium.
We
that
formed
right?
For the common areas, we formed a condominium. So there's,
Right, so
there's one building that's adjoining, and then there's a separate building behind it altogether.
So
We have a big parking
a-
lot that we own.
It's a condominium, it's on one parcel. So that one parcel is,
One, correct.
right,
Okay.
so if you had a single parcel with 20 units within it, you wouldn't get 20 driveway entrances.
Correct.
You're limited by the number of parcels that you have.
Any other comments? All right, we'll close the public hearing on that and move to discuss and possibly vote. Discuss possibly vote on ordinance to amend Chapter 185 zoning of the Dewey Beach Code of Ordinances relating to specifications for the number of driveway entrances permitted on a lot in Dewey Beach as referred by the Dewey Beach Planning and Zoning Commission. Do I have a motion for council?
Motion.
Second.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. On to number 6. That closes the public hearing elements. Discuss the possible vote on ordinance to amend Chapter 71-3 building permits relating to the expiration of building permits. Commissioner Persinger?
Yes, I'm trying to build this up. We had a discrepancy between two sections of the code, one of which was in section 185. And we fixed that, and with the Planning and Zoning Commission's review first, we fixed that, I believe, at the last meeting, where we simply referred anybody who was looking at section 185 back to section 71-3, which has the specifics on renewal of building permits. So that's chapter 71-3. We have, again, two versions. I guess Fred and I really should talk to each other so that we don't have duplication, but they basically do the same thing. I think the only difference is really, let me pull up the second version quickly. Too many windows opening. I can't get back to it.
One of the differences is that when I'm asked to draft an ordinance, I'm drafting it on the front end in order to get it published. And Mr. Persinger has the benefit of the Planning Commission discussion and further thought. So the better product might, has a chance to come later.
It's not a contest, Fred.
All right, I just want you to know.
Don, I thought it was too zippy.
Hey, do you see all the books behind
I
Commissioner
know, I'm
Persinger?
intimidated.
Well read.
I'm in a fashion room called a library with books.
So which version are you presenting?
I think they're basically the same. The only differences, I think, are in the whereas paragraphs. I think Fred's recognizes the review by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and mine recognizes a couple of other things that, if your building permit expires and you have to reapply, that new permit has to be based on the current construction cost estimate. You can't come back and reapply with the old construction cost estimate that you came in with initially. And secondly, that one of the changes we're doing here we're proposing is that we're taking the commissioners out of this as a possible avenue for appeal by a homeowner. At least it's my view that the building official is perfectly in the situation to make decisions about this. And, there's no reason for there to be an additional appeal to the commissioners. So those are the only two things that my version. I think you would have to add planning and zoning review to my version. And then it's probably pretty consistent with Fred's, I believe. Is that you well, Fred?
Why'd you delete the $50 fee?
Because that's specified in another section of the code where you have all of the fees.
These are on a separate.
It was already
chart,
somewhere else.
right?
All right.
So, Commissioner Persinger, can I have a motion with the draft being acknowledged and with any changes that you have to that particular draft?
Let me propose that we, or move rather, that we adopt draft 2 of this ordinance and add to that a whereas paragraph that recognizes the planning and zoning review that occurred, I believe was on, no, I don't remember the date, May 14th or May 4th, something like that.
It's
Whatever the-
The second whereas clause on draft 1 refers to the May 4th Planning Commission hearing, so that could be added to draft 2,
Okay.
and that would
That would be
a
make
motion.
it complete.
Yeah.
All right, hearing that as a motion, can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion or question? Thank you for, again, Commissioner Bersinger, for helping with clarity. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. On to item number 7, discuss possibly vote on ordinance to amend Chapter 117 licensing of businesses to expressly prohibit the production and sale of marijuana and any other marijuana-related business activities. Discussion, conversation,
Public comment?
or are there any public comment for this? I'll open it up.
This is surprising.
Okay.
I'd like to make a comment.
Please come up to the mic, state your name and where you're from, what's your residence, et
My
cetera.
name's Sean Rogers. I own Good Beach Exxon.
Sorry, we can't hear the speaker.
Microphone down, please.
I heard there was a proposal to ban the sale of all intentions are, because I think this is a huge business opportunity. I don't know how you all feel about it, but to just out and out outlaw it, maybe I don't agree on it. I think in this town, I think we have a huge problem in the town selling drugs. As far as marijuana goes, I think it. Every night, we're up until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, see people drunk out on the streets, beating each other up. I don't see that happening with weed. I'm just here to give you my opinion, and it's this, but I don't want to be prevented. Fair, like I like to have a hot dog cart out there. There's no outdoor concessions. It's just one more thing that limits me, and I don't agree with it.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Kate, is there anyone in the waiting room?
David Byron's still there, I don't think.
Okay. All right, council, conversation. It is
I can,
Paul, you start.
I can clear up some of the parts of this. So in order to get a dispensary, and I guess this is what we're talking about, you have to go through the state to get that. You have to go to the governor's office. There's a new marijuana czar that was just appointed this week, I believe, Mr. Cooper. So that's where those come from. And there's a long waiting list of people that have applied to be, I couldn't just walk in and say, yeah, I just want to start selling weed tomorrow. You have to get approved by the state, and that is a lengthy process in of itself. So the question I guess we're all faced with is a dispensary a good fit for our town? I think we've come a long way in the last 5-10 years. A lot more family fun and stuff like that. But if you go up to the outlets, you can have a dispensary there. You can have a dispensary all over the state. But do we want to have it right in the center of town here? For example, let's say somebody next door to the Dairy Queen wants to open up and he gets a license through the state. Does that make it look like we're still family friendly around here? And that's, I'm just looking at it from the optics of it. That's my purview of it, but I'm anxious to hear everybody else's opinion of it, and let's have a discussion and see where we go.
Any other council?
Anyways, one of the things is wanting to make sure that the residents of the town have access to things that they're legally allowed to have. And I do not think the residents of the town are being disserviced by needing to drive, maybe it's 1.5 miles up to the current dispensary, which I assume will become a recreational dispensary as well. You're a small town, 1 mile long, 2 blocks wide. How much fun can we stuff into all of that? And my understanding too is that we can't tax this, it would go to the state. So there is no benefit to the town for doing this. With that in mind, I would not want a dispensary, recreational or medicinal in town.
I just have a question for either from an administrative or public safety perspective. Is there an opinion that the town has administratively or public safety wise on this?
So, my over 30 years of law enforcement experience, to me, marijuana would be a gateway drug. That's my own personal opinion. And to have a dispensary here in the town, we already have 15 establishments that serve alcohol in about 3/4 of a mile, because the northern end of town is residential. So in the commercial areas, serve alcohol. To add a dispensary into that environment, we're going to be adding another place where people are going to be able to go get something that is going to. Currently, under the law that's been passed in Delaware, you have to be over 21. This be an opportunity for. Will this be an opportunity for younger people to try to go into a place like buying cigarettes to try to purchase marijuana? I don't know. That'll be on the enforcement part with Secretary Coop, who's now going to be the marijuana czar, I guess. But my personal opinion is there'd be this would be one less thing if we don't have a dispensary in town that we would have to worry about. And with that, I'll turn it over to the chief.
From what I've seen with dispensaries, even though you have the dispensaries currently where I came from in Maryland, where you were allowed to go with your prescription card and get your product, a lot of people don't understand the law does not allow you to use your products in public. You can't get into your car, which a lot of I would see because I did work security at some of these dispensaries on my off-duty employment, and they would get in their cars and they would start vaping their products and stuff. Well, then they're driving under the influence. So it'd be no different if we allow a dispensary here in town for people to go get their marijuana, whether it be the prescription kind or the other, that they're going to, people just don't read the laws. They're going to go buy their product and then they're going to be out in the street smoking dope. And it's against the law. So if you put it in, like you said, and we're a very small town, there's not a lot of blocks here, so you're going to have a lot more people going up and buying their dope, and then they're going to be right on the street corner smoking dope all over town. And that's not what we want. So we can make it a little bit more inconvenient. They have to drive 1.5 miles to go to a dispensary or go get their marijuana. So no, I do not want that in this town. I think that's one more thing that we'd have to deal with. And we deal with a lot of alcohol-related issues in this town of people drinking too much. So we have to spend a lot of focus on that. And now we don't want to have to spend more time on this other issue. So I don't want it.
Commissioner Persinger.
Yeah, I simply don't see a significant benefit to the town of allowing a dispensary or cultivation facilities or product manufacturing facilities or testing facilities. I just don't see a significant benefit for the town of doing that. So I would support prohibiting those activities. And in fact, the state law that was passed just a few months ago that legalizes recreational use of marijuana expressly says that municipalities can prohibit the operation of marijuana cultivation facilities, marijuana product manufacturing facilities, marijuana testing facilities, and retail marijuana stores. So, I'm definitely in favor of the draft ordinance that we have here. I do have some questions about it, and I can come back to that in a few moments if you want to wait on that and get some more.
Yeah, let me I'll throw my comments in and then we can go for a motion and look at some revisions to the motion. I don't necessarily agree with not restricting business, restricting commerce, specifically having the ability to, if the state has approved it, then why should we be different? Now, that's on one side of the conversation, but they have to look at it from a public safety. We're here from a public safety perspective, as well as individual rights, but the safety comes first over individual rights. So that you cannot infringe upon another's that's next to you. I am also in favor for that reason, but also one that might be an unintended consequence that we don't know of right now. For example, it is federally illegal. And the funding that we have from Beach for Nourishment is 70% funded by the federal government. And, similar to what happened in the 70s and 80s in terms of changing the age in which you consume alcohol, which ended up restricting the amount of funds so they can go into streets and infrastructure. I wouldn't want to see something happen in Dewey Beach in which a dispensary is the reason why we don't get Beach for Nourishment. And I realize it's a stretch, but it only takes one representative to make that stretch and others to fall in line. So.
I guess with that, I'll make a motion that we pass this ordinance.
Second. Discussion, Commissioner Persinger, of changes that you have to the ordinance.
Well, yeah, the state law expressly allows municipalities to ban certain categories of these types of businesses. The one type of business that we've included here is our marijuana smoking lounges. I'm not exactly sure what those are. I did do a little searching on the internet, and I found that Ocean City has tried to, or maybe they actually have taken some action against these types of lounges. And as I understand it, these would be places where people could come and smoke or use marijuana products in one way or another. If we pass something like this, they obviously couldn't buy it if we ban retail marijuana stores, but presumably they could have food, they could have drinks, some sort of atmosphere like that. I guess the basic question about this is there something in the state law that would enable those kinds of things that we would be in some way in conflict with if we attempt to ban them? And that's a question to our council. The other question I have is, should we make some reference to the state law so that there is a specific definition for each of these terms that we've used here? They are well defined in the state law. It just seems that we should have, except for the smoking lounges, it seems that we ought to have some definition here, at least by reference. Those are my comments.
Fred, Jeb.
Well, I can't argue with the second point at all, that we could include a reference to the state law and indicate that the meanings of this term shall be as defined by state law. So that would be easy to do. The smoking lounge issue came from us relying on a model ordinance that was introduced and maybe adopted in a local jurisdiction down south, I think. And that's why it's here before you. I will say, from a zoning perspective, our zoning code authorizes uses which are specified and prohibits uses which are not expressly permitted. That's the way our zoning code works. There's this whole system works really well if we're talking about facilities that engage in just this activity. And I think with dispensaries, that's what we're going to have. Like, I don't think the state is close to saying that marijuana can be sold from any number of different types of existing retail establishments. I think it's going to be heavily controlled and restricted to a particular establishment. That establishment right now, that use is not permitted in Dewey Beach. So this law is just making it expressly clear that that particular use is not permitted in Dewey Beach, and you can't pull a business license for it. But it's already, if somebody tried to open one, it would already be a violation of our zoning code. If a smoking lounge is a standalone entity, that also would be prohibited by our zoning code. So where it would get murky would be if an existing legal retail or bar facility of some point, of some type, were to allow for that type of use to occur, then we would have to look hard at the way in which we regulate that or prohibit it.
So question for you on that point, Fred. So suppose a restaurant decided that they wanted to allow smoking of marijuana in their restaurant. Does the state law, and I guess it's really also a question for the chief, does the state law prohibit them from doing that, or are they allowed to do that?
Well, it's public.
It's considered public.
It
right?
is,
Okay.
so they could not do that.
So, I think we've had these conversations. You are allowed by state law, and correct me if I'm wrong, chief, is that you can smoke in your home, you can smoke in your car if it's not running, or in a temporary dump.
In your area.
In your area.
Yes, like at home,
And-
if you were in your drive, or in your yard.
Or a hotel room, if
Yeah, we talked
the
about
hotel
that,
room would
yes.
allow it, but otherwise, no. The only, and please, I don't mean to throw humor into this, but, if something like the Lions Club, which is a nonprofit, decided to have a smoking lounge,
Right.
and it was member only, would that be addressed, or does it need, not that the Lions Club would
Not
do
that the
that?
Lions Club's doing.
Yes.
Well, that's an example of how it can get murky.
Murky.
Because the Lions Club would say, we're the Lions Club, that's our
It's
usage.
member only.
And because the Lions Club is not a pool hall, but they might have a pool and ping pong table, there. So, I think it might pass the test of not
Okay.
being a violation of the rule against public consumption.
I guess the question is this ordinance tight enough to protect us? If we pass, assuming we pass this.
Well, I think it's very clear that if you were an applicant who wanted to open up a dispensary in Dewey Beach, the state would say, what is,
The municipalities.
give us
ordinance.
a letter saying that what you want to do is zoning compliant. We would deny the letter. We'd say, we don't have a zoning use which comports to that. And secondly, we expressly state that we can't give you a business license. So
You couldn't operate without the business license. Yeah, and it's much like, I envision this being sort of like if I wanted to get a liquor license today. I mean, the Exxon, let's say you wanted to sell alcohol out of there. You'd have to go to the state to get a liquor license. But if your local municipality says, hey, we got enough liquor in this town already, we don't want 25 more liquor stores in town, then we have the right to look at those business licenses that way. We don't want to prevent the sale of it. We just, I think what this ordinance is designed to do is, can you have a dispensary in town? The growing of it and all that kind of stuff. There's no farmland in Dewey Beach, so you don't have to worry about that part of it. But, it's a dispensary aspect of it. And, frankly, all the other beach communities are looking at the same thing. So it's not unique to us. This is across this whole region at this point.
And this ordinance certainly does not prohibit the sale of paraphernalia.
Right.
Correct.
No.
Does not.
Whatever you're legally able to do today, you can do tomorrow morning.
All that being said, can I have a motion from the council?
Well, I made a motion, but I'll amend the motion
Right.
to include references to the key terms in
Key
state.
terms. Okay. And
Second.
second? Any other discussion? Not seeing any. All in favor, say aye.
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 Number 8, discuss and possibly vote on an ordinance to amend Chapter 65-8 vehicles on the ocean beach to prohibit unauthorized vehicles from driving on the beach. Bill, town manager, do you want to make a comment, or you want me to? Is it?
Okay, currently, the law is from September 15th to May 15th. Vehicles can be on the beach if they're actively fishing. We fall under the same ordinance or rules that the state of Delaware has. You have to have a license, actively fishing. There's certain equipment that you have to have on the beach. We're prohibited to having public on the beach with their vehicles from May 15th to September 15th, with the exception of emergency vehicles, our town contracted vehicles, which would be the concessions and the trash, and the ocean rescue folks. That's it at this time.
Yeah, I think this is one of those loopholes that we had in our code that wasn't explicit. My years of here, I don't remember ever seeing a car on our beach anyway.
During COVID.
During COVID.
So there are special exceptions. For example, the skimboarding contest, they fill out an event permit, we allow
Correct.
that.
Correct.
End of the summer party, they fill out an event permit, we
allow
allow
for
that. That would be the only exceptions if this would pass.
Okay.
Chicago Street is the only dune crossing that's big enough that you could get a car across anyhow. And then if someone is able to get a car across and they get stuck, we don't have any equipment. You can't let air out of your tire and blow your tires back up when
Right.
you leave. And God forbid, would have to get a tow truck down there to get them out, but I don't know. So anyhow, I guess, the discussion is, we have it for 3 months or for 100 days, right? May 15th, September 15th. So do we want to make it 12 months? I mean, it's a state-owned beach, so the state allows surf fishing, and you get licenses to surf fish, and so that process exists. So the discussion is, do we need to extend May 15th to September 15th? We need to make it longer, do we need to make it year-round?
That's why it's a question for council. It's, to me, it was put on the agenda as a matter of looking at public safety as well as, what happens on the beach. As you state, Paul, we don't have the ability to blow your tires back up as if you were at an open and or, I assume the state
Tower
park,
Road,
Tower
yeah.
Road, correct. Any other discussion, council? All right, can I have a motion, one way or the other?
We haven't had any issues with it. I mean, so we're passing something that we haven't had issues with.
But sometimes you need to get ahead. Stop problems from happening before they do occur. You tell your children to not play with fire before they start playing with fire.
Don't touch the stove. Yeah, what I do.
So I would move that we accept the draft ordinance disallowing vehicles on the beach except for with special permits.
Express, okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Gary eyed. He was on mute, but he eyed.
So as no.
I saw his hand go up.
Number 9, discuss possible vote to amend section 4-5 of the Dewey Beach Employee Handbook regarding accrual of PTO or paid time off. I believe that this was put on just as a clarification from a prior the acceptance of the handbook, and it was to clearly make it clearer in terms of the amount of hours being used for those that may be having more than an 8-hour day in terms of how it's being used. So any other conversation in council before asking for a motion?
This seems like a nice clarification.
Yep.
Can I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 There's also an aye. Number 10, review of May financials. The financial statements and financial summaries are available. I assume that we reviewed it. So I'll ask council to ask, and we have Sheena Hall, our finance director here. Do you have any questions of what was submitted or seek any clarification of what was provided?
I did have one question, and I apologize for not emailing you with it. With the question. It seems like there was a much lower business license than we would expect in May. Is this a seasonal variation? I thought the budget was monthly, but it seemed like business license applications were way off.
We've just got it, this is the first year where we have the business licenses coming at the beginning of the fiscal year. In the past, they were at the end. They are, it may appear like they're low, but they are streaming right up where they should be to be hitting totals.
Thank you.
The only other comment I have for the public to notice is that if you do look at the financial summary and you look at the year-to-date budget to actual, you will see that there is under the police operating $142,902 versus a budget of $34,583. According to government standards of accounting, it's necessary to include even capital expenditures as a use of cash at this point before it gets reclassified at a later date. And I believe there's $80,000 or $90,000 in that account that's associated with those types of equipment. So if you're normally looking at a P&L and carrying a profit or loss statement, those figures are making the total expenses seem higher than they actually are in terms of the general operations of the town of Dewey Beach. Commissioner Persinger, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, a couple of comments. First of all, thank you for Sheena and town manager for sharing the more detailed revenue and expenditure report. I think that's much more helpful. And as the mayor just suggested, it helps you to identify those situations where there are capital expenditures that are probably going to get paid for somewhere else at some point. I would still prefer to have some sort of a report or some sort of explicit acknowledgement letting us know that that is the case so that it's easier to verify. I think, what I would prefer is to actually improve that report. It's difficult to compare the actual versus budgeted numbers, going from the financial summary to the more detailed revenue and expenditure report. If we can include a monthly, the monthly budgeted figure in that more detailed report, or a year-to-date budgeted figure, it would be a lot easier to identify, where things seem to be a little bit out of balance, or where we need to make pay some additional attention to. I just think that would be an improved format. The other concern that I have, and I expressed to Mr. Sheena already, and that is we don't seem to have a settled number in terms of the surplus from the last fiscal year. At the end of March, I think we were showing something like $178,000. And if you look at the unassigned net assets that are in the current budget balance sheet, rather, it's down to $148,000 or $50,000. So, or I mean, not 100, but $48,000 or $50,000, something on that order of magnitude. So, at some point we need to nail that down, obviously, and I guess the auditors would be involved in that. But a little concerned that it seems to be shrinking, which gives us less money to devote to other priority needs. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Persky. I believe that the auditor was actually in town meeting with town this past week. As they move forward the audit process, those figures that could be allocated or reallocated to, for example, the town hall, will be finalized and will be a moving target in the near future. Okay. With that, let's move on to number 11, comments. Town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So after further discussion with Jim Dedes and the chief, for the town hall, the next phase for the town hall will be looking at whether we're going to put it out for bid for the mechanical. When I say mechanical, heat, air, electric, the plumbing, those type of items that we need to, now that we've got the inside of the building, actually the workspace, complete. Now we need to have another. Yeah.
Really can't hear you, unfortunately.
And that's going to be our next phase, will be the mechanical phase of the town hall, since now we have the actual work areas, the service areas inside the town hall and police station completed. The next phase will be to look at getting those drawings done so we can move closer to something of obtaining the permits to start the actual breaking ground. So that's where we are on that, if there's any questions.
And this is for council and for public. I know that there was a revision as to what, from the last council meeting or the special meeting in terms of June 2nd, we approved budgetary numbers in terms of the demolition, furniture and fixtures, as well as the building of the new town hall. I believe you had a conversation with the architects now after revise everything, for example, not having the parking underneath. And in summary, and I just want you to conclude that we will be under everything that we asked for in that meeting has been agreed upon, and that the architect did confirm, based upon current numbers, that the actual building of New Town Hall will be at or less than. He came back with 6.6 to 6.8 with a revision of the New Town Hall with the changes that we made. So just wanted to make that clear that we're all on the same page.
Wow.
So, any other questions on that? Nothing. Okay. Just say I'm very proud of the great work that the team's doing, everything from the police department to parking to finances, the aldermen, our admin folks, our new maintenance team is out there. They're learning as they go. The lifeguards are doing a great job. Kate's doing a great job for us with the newsletter and keeping up with everything on the IT side. But I'd like to point out the statistics from our building officials. So I went down to Rehoboth and asked them what they had from January 1st to, it was about a week and a half ago, permits that they had issued for building. They were at 123. A week and a half ago, we were over 270 building permits. Now, that doesn't mean the permits are the same everywhere, right? But you look at some of the building that's going on in Dewey Beach, whether it's the new Starboard Claw or the grottos or some of the other things that are being built, that takes a lot of time and effort by Dawn and by Jim. They've just been doing an excellent job moving through those. And all those permits come through our two ladies at the front office, Laura and Jenny up there, Jean. It all goes through there, and it takes a lot of time and effort to do it. So I'd just like to point that out. We're 100 more than the town of Rehoboth, who has a huge staff compared to ours to work on that. And then the other piece is I turned in my evaluation. I hope everybody got to see that. I put in my comments. I hope everybody got to see my comments, which had my goals and objectives for the next fiscal year. In that, if you have any questions about my goals or objectives, please let me know. And I just want to thank you for continued support.
Thank you, Bill. Chief, any comments?
Well, I've provided you with a stat sheet. I'm not going to read them. I figured you'd read them at your leisure. This is our new canine, Maximus. Everybody see the picture? He's 1 year old on June 10th. He is in training in North Carolina for the next 4 months. Corporal Curtin will go to Tar Hill Canine in October to complete his training with his canine partner, Maximus. So we hope to have Maximus in service by November. And we already have the canine vehicle. We just have to get all the equipment put in it and the cage and everything, but we already have that as well.
Are you going to refer to him as, will he come to Max or Maximus? What is the?
I don't know what Carl's going to call him. I don't know if he's going to just go with the abbreviated Max or just Maximus kind of sounds cool.
Apparently, there was a fan of the movie Gladiator from a while back when that name was.
He's supposed to get up to about 80 pounds, so. And
Okay.
he's going to be a dual purpose dog. So he'll be able to search for drugs, and then he'll be able to search for people, do building searches, things like that. And we'll hopefully be able to use him at community events and stuff to get him out there in the public. We have 4 more officers attending bike school at the end of the month. Ocean View Police Department's going to put that on for us at no cost. So I thank the chief of welcome formally for that. It was going to be $400 a person, but he's doing it for free. So then we'll have 7 people total on the bikes. And we obviously have 4 bikes, so hopefully those bikes will be running constantly at night and everybody gets a turn. Originally, nobody wanted to get on the bike when we were doing the training. Nobody would raise their hand, and we kind of threatened them. Now, the 3 that we actually have made it to the school, they call themselves the Blue Angels, and they love it. And a couple of them had to go on foot the other day, and they said, oh gosh, this isn't really as good, because they know when they're on the bike, they can be all over town quickly and get all up to the hot call, so they're loving life. The new truck came in, the black truck for Lieutenant Dempsey. Once his car gets marked up and equipped, then we'll take his current vehicle and we're going to auction that off. It's pretty old and it has, I think, about 180,000 miles on it, so it's running pretty rough. And our Explorer still, we're waiting for the equipment to be done on that. And everybody's doing a great job. You know, we still have 11 seasonals left after we lost the 2 that quit. And they're doing a great job. They're out there. Hopefully everybody's enjoying that. They're really, I told them that they got to be out on foot all over town on those bikes and just out there, and they're talking to people and they're doing like what Bill says, be ambassadors. You know, I told them, you know, we're not going to chase people across the highway for urinating or open alcohol and have people get run over. So we have to use common sense, and we're going to educate the public on different things versus charging them with everything. So I think everybody's doing a great job. Our officers are doing a great job, and I'm very pleased with how the summer is rolling along.
Thank you,
We're
Chief.
gearing up for 4th of July.
Running of the bull.
And that too.
Commissioner Bauer, comments?
Well, thanks to our town manager and chief here. You both are doing an outstanding job. I'm looking at this and, some of the feedback we get as commissioners is, we don't have enough, all these people speed through town. I don't know when that happens, but most of the time you can't go more than 5 miles an hour. But anyhow, 85 traffic tickets last month. So for everybody who's saying that, our police officers don't give out tickets for that, there's 85 of them. There's 85 people who would tell you differently. But no, I mean, just looking at the sheer volume of issues that you got to deal with. So you do an excellent job. And so I just want to thank everybody for that. And that's all I got to say.
Commissioner Gibbings.
I wanted to acknowledge and thank DNREC and the town manager for the accessible map that is now on Van Dyke. It's one of those things that I had been asking for when we first got here, and it was so exciting when I went over the dunes the other day and saw it. I really think it's, again, making our town accessible to everybody. I also wanted to acknowledge everybody that does work on the newsletter. It is getting more and more entertaining, more and more filled with information. And Kate, if you're following the click open things, I imagine those numbers are going up too, that people are actually reading it. So it's worth the effort that everybody's putting into it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jasinski.
No comments.
Commissioner Persinger.
Yeah, just sorry I couldn't be there today. Thank you, Mayor, for a good, efficient meeting. I think things went very, very well. And, you know, I've been sending each month, I send out an email to Bill and to Kate telling him how much I like the newsletter. So I will add to Commissioner Gibbings' statement just a few moments ago. It really is a great addition to the information that's being put out about Dewey Beach and what's going on here. And Kate's doing a great job with it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mayor William Stevens, I have no comments. With that, can I have a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.